my sister, her birthday is on the 4th.
Yeah, he's just lost track
And
of
she's
what month it is,
92.
that's all.
Wow.
Which is easy to do, Sean.
How amazing.
I'll be
This
90,
year has gone by quick.
or am 90. And they got some of them mentioned something about it, and I said, you know, I'm 90 years old. According to, I was born in 25, so you can count it up. That is, but I'm gonna tell you the fact that it was something to come up. I came up here by myself. I didn't know where I was going, and I walked through here and through yonder.
Really?
Mr. Wall owned the property then. He lived right over there. I walked through here, but you could not tell it was
Wow.
no. But the leaves were that deep or more
Mm.
on the ground that fell from the trees. You could not tell where there was no graves or anything.
Who was with you when you come here the first time, Daddy?
Huh?
Who all was with you when you came here the first time?
The only person that I remembered being with was me, walking. I went in and I'd heard about it and about the old man Wall, Mr. Wall. He sure didn't act gentlemanly at all. And Miles, King, and Govan and myself came and went and visited him, Mr. Wall.
Okay, now the time you're talking about coming here by yourself, that was after the time that you came here with Govan Ray, and
Before it.
it was before then.
Yes.
No, I believe it was after that.
No one knew I come.
Ah,
I just,
He's talking about the very first.
somebody told me that the old cemetery was here somewhere.
okay.
Nobody knew. Well, I walked and I still don't know if I was in the cemetery or where, but the leaves are so deep. And I walked a pretty good little distance up this way.
But you didn't see the headstones that time?
Didn't see nothing.
Okay.
Even
You were just
recognize.
in the area, in the woods.
I don't know if I was here.
Right.
I mean, right in this area.
That
Okay.
was after Aunt Elsie got that letter from, that was after
Aunt Elsie got that letter from
Omega.
Omega. That was sometime later. See, we didn't even know where the graveyard was till we went to see the gentleman up the road,
Mr. Summy, Mr. Hicks Summy.
Mr. Summy.
Yeah.
And when we went over there and talked to him, he said, "You mean old Preacher King graveyard?" And,
He knew exactly what you're talking about.
he knew exactly who was talking about. He said, "Well, I've played all around up there, around them old graves." And he said, "Come on, we'll go." And he gladly went with us, came up here. And we found it just in the shape. That grave there had been dug in, and
Benjamin King's.
Seems there was a dug place in, and we figured this was. I think there was a marker there. I think, pretty sure, the marker was to her grave. Miss
Yes.
Benjamin.
Well, when we came here and actually found the cemetery, when you found the cemetery and we saw the stones and everything, who all was with you that time?
You mean after we?
Yeah, including him. Name all the people.
Let's see. Gladstone, Ray. That's Govan.
Right.
Miles, or Buddy, we called him.
Miles?
Buddy King.
Buddy.
What's his last name?
King.
He was a king.
This had to be another time. The first
He
time.
was
Okay.
He was the oldest boy's boy.
Gotcha.
Govan's oldest boys.
Oh, okay. All right.
All right, now, and Boyd.
Boyd, this was another working when you all came up here after.
They wasn't no working. They just more or less
Came
were
up-
just looking.
Now let's see.
The one-
And were you part of that too, Gerald, that day?
When we first discovered the cemetery, we went, Daddy, Uncle Ray, myself, had driven over to Mills River to try to find the Joseph Cemetery.
Right.
And then on a lark, we said we'd come over here and see if we could find this one, which we had heard about.
Right.
And so at that point, Uncle Ray said, I know Hick Summy. And Hick said, yeah. And like Dad said, he had played here. So then at that time, and that was in 1979,
It was May the 26th, 1979.
1979.
Because you gave me a copy of the record. Yeah.
Daddy, Uncle Ray, myself, and Hick Summy, and he brought us up here. And well,
So now let's see. Okay, so your daddy, DG here, yourself, Ray, Govan Ray,
Govan G. Ray King, right,
and Hick Summy.
and Hick Summy, and
Gladstone wasn't part of it that
no,
day?
not that time.
Okay.
After Daddy's talking about when he came up here, after that date, they started exchanging correspondence
Right.
with Mr. Wall's attorney. They approached Mr. Wall,
Yes. Wanted to buy it.
yeah, and he said no. And then they went to Wall's attorney was Mr. Shipman, and he wrote them, and it was back and forth.
Right.
And then that's when Daddy and Gladstone and Boyd and maybe Buddy and those came back. But this would have to been sometime in the early 80s.
Right. Right.
So we went somewhere along there to Mr. Wall's house
Wow.
and saw him face to face and talked
Mhm.
to him.
Right.
He'd rather he had never seen us. And
Well, he was.
well, he says now you can have permission to move all of them graves you want. You can buy them over yonder at Saluda at that little church. And I didn't know which little church he's talking about. And he said, you can buy the lots for $25 a piece. I said, well, we're in no need of any lots. We're not planning to move anybody. They're there. And he turned to his wife, he said, don't you think they ought to be moved? She said, I think they ought to be left there till Jesus comes back. You talking about melting an old man.
Oh my goodness! How about
That
that?
was his own wife said that.
Wow. What a story.
And he come across with some other sharp,
Yeah.
and I cannot remember all of it.
Sure.
But
sure.
anyway,
Well, I mean, he actually wasn't he trying to get you folks to buy the entire property?
no,
No.
this was number one lot.
Yeah.
Right here.
Right.
And that's the reason the graves is here. They picked out the very prettiest lot on,
Sure. On this knoll.
on anywhere here.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Uncle Ray, I
And-
think mentioned the possibility of us buying it maybe.
He,
Yeah, I think it was in one of the letters, you know. But I mean, that'd be a lot of money.
That's right.
It was a lot of land.
But what
and I
the way
think
this lot,
Yeah.
was the next visit when we had the lawyer
Corner.
Francis.
yeah, Francis Corner came up here with us after we Shipman. We
Old
realized
fella
we needed
come up
to-
that steep hill there,
Yeah.
and we thought you were going to have a heart attack before you
Right.
got up here.
He almost
Wow.
passed out on us, the overexertion climbing that hill. Thought we were going to have the ambulance come get him.
Yeah. Corning you're talking
Corner,
about.
Francis Corner, who he was the guy that really went to bat for us on this
The
thing.
only marker
Right.
we had was a light pole right down on the road there.
Right.
We'd park there and Tim pole at that pole and walk right straight up that line.
Well, now let me ask you something. Go back here just a little bit. You talked about, you mentioned the letter that Omega had sent to Aunt Elsie.
Mother's sister.
Is there any possibility that letter's still around?
I think I probably could find it.
That would be a treasure. I mean, that's part of the story. That
She,
probably ought to be with the journal that you put together about finding the
she
cemetery.
came up here.
Yeah, Omega, I've got a picture of you and her
Yeah.
together up here.
Right.
You got the letter?
Yeah, we brought Omega up here.
And the
actually.
letter.
Now, see, I've never seen that. I'd love to see that picture as well. I'd love to get a copy of that.
Oh yeah, that's not a problem.
That's really part of this history.
But Aunt Elsie, she had wrote, her and Omega set up a correspondence. They knew they were cousins. But Omega said that she had learned about the possibility of this cemetery through the lady in Alabama, I believe it was.
Right. Right. The Taylor lady in Andalusia, Alabama.
And but Daddy and Uncle Ray and us, after we got out, we were loafing. Uncle Ray and Daddy liked to drive around and tell stories about history in the county and all. Yeah, that's what actually
Frank.
got that letter or the connected with this Sammy King Cemetery came from. This is a stump, and the tree had been blown down during the storm, and Arlen King cut it off with his chainsaw. Daddy and Arlen and I were up here together, and we took those pieces back, and Daddy cut out the pieces to make the frames.
So you took the wood from that tree. Y'all made the frame and the gavel.
And the gavels.
Wow.
2 sets of gavel sets from that tree right there.
How about that?
And who knows how long these things have been planted here.
How about that? 2 old cedar
They've
trees.
been planted by, they could have,
That's one.
the last time anybody was buried here is probably 1850.
Yeah,
Grave.
Yeah, there's a grave there.
sure is.
So one of the families, but a lot of the stuff is sloughing off the bottom part of that log,
There
which
was
I've
one
got.
tree, and I don't know how many was here to begin with. There was one tree already on the ground.
Cedar tree?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it wasn't quite as big as this.
That's that one, Daddy.
That's probably the.
That's the stump.
That's it.
That's
But anyway, I cut in and took it with me.
Right.
And took a saw and ripped it out, and I made some pieces of wood. I made a gavel and a hammer for, what was it, the King Reunion?
We still using it at our King reunion. He gave one of them to Gary. We made 2 sets of gavels, 2 gavels and 2 sounding blocks, and cut out enough boards to make several frames for pictures.
And
of
it
the
was
boards.
made now.
From that tree. Boy, isn't that something?
These 2 more.
What a treasure.
Yeah.
These 2 are going to be on the ground.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. They won't be here much longer.
And
Something nice need to
it
be.
it is property of the cemetery.
Oh, absolutely.
But
I tell you what, we ought to just get over here and take them down and
We had 'em
take them out
saved
to your
somewhere.
house here.
Put them up somewhere. We'll have to keep
Yeah.
in mind on that. But I mean, to me, that's Lord
if
knows,
they could
Gary,
be
how long that's
taken
been there.
down
Oh,
and
it's been there a
stored,
long time.
They'll live a long time.
Sure.
and
Oh, yeah.
it's not too hard to make a gavel and a hammer,
But all
whatever
of,
you need.
Well, it's something I'll treasure forever, I
Cut it
tell you
Arlen
that.
used his chainsaw to cut that down.
Wow.
Cut it up for us, cut the pieces up, Arlen did.